Have you ever left a medical appointment feeling emotionally drained, like you've been in battle, even if the conversation lasted just minutes? That's the hidden cost of advocacy. Today we're talking about the emotional weight we carry as caregivers when we constantly have to fight to be heard. Hi there and welcome to Radiant Moments, a J&B podcast. I'm Michelle and I'm so honoured to share this space with you. Before we dive in, let's take a grounding moment. If you can, close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a deep breath in and slowly let it out. Now, place your hands on your heart. Just for a second, acknowledge all that you're holding, all the decisions, the responsibility, the advocating. You are doing so much, and this moment is just for you. If you haven't had a chance to listen to episode 31, Navigating Healthcare Systems with Confidence, I highly recommend going back and giving it a listen. It's packed with practical tools and mindset shifts to help you feel more empowered when dealing with hospitals, specialists, and all the moving parts of the medical world. If today's topic around the emotional toll of advocacy resonates with you, that episode will give you the structure and confidence to stand your ground without burning out. You can find it right before this one in your podcast feed. Today's topic hits close to home because no one really talks about the emotional labor of being an advocate. We talk about strategies, systems, appointments, but what about the burnout that comes from always having to push, explain, prove, or defend? That invisible weight adds up. And if you've ever felt like you're one sentence away from tears or silence in those medical rooms, you are not alone. I've felt that too. Let's unpack this together with honesty, compassion, and a few tools that might just lighten the load. The invisible cost of advocacy. Advocacy is powerful, but it's also exhausting. When you're constantly stepping into medical spaces to protect, clarify, and question, it starts to take a toll mentally, emotionally, and physically. I once described it to a friend as walking into every appointment with invisible armor. And while armor protects, it's heavy. Some signs you might be carrying advocacy fatigue, feeling emotionally numb after appointments, dreading interactions even when necessary, replaying conversations long after they've ended, losing sleep because you're afraid you've missed something important. Let's talk about why this happens. Because caregivers are often the only consistent thread in a sea of rotating doctors, specialists, and systems. And when the burden to catch everything falls on you, it becomes overwhelming. Let me tell you about the day I broke down in tears in a public car park. There was one appointment I'll never forget. It happened years ago, but I really remember it like it was yesterday because the weight of that moment still echoes in my body. We were deep into our journey. My son was unwell and I had learned the hard way how critical preparation was. I had done everything right. I had the notes, the updates, a summary of changes, and questions ready to go. So I felt organized. I felt ready. We were expecting to see our regular doctor, the one who'd walked this path with us, the one who knew my son, the one who had witnessed the setbacks, the breakthroughs, the tears and the tiny victories that feel monumental. But when the door opened, it wasn't him. A new doctor stood there, unfamiliar and composed. He explained our regular provider was away on extended leave and that he would be stepping in for the foreseeable future. I literally froze because I knew what that meant. We had to start again with someone who hadn't seen the sleepless nights, who didn't know how far we'd come, who hadn't been in the room when things fell apart or when we finally had answers. And already I could feel that subtle shift, the fear that this new person wouldn't truly see us. Still, I stayed calm. We sat down. I began to explain the updates I had bought. But he didn't listen. He talked over me. He made assumptions. He disregarded the timeline, the symptoms, and the patterns we had been carefully tracking for months. Now he was polite, but rushed, detached, focused on moving through the appointment on schedule. Not on understanding the child sitting in front of him or the mother who had carried this story every hour of every day. No matter what I said, he didn't engage. No curiosity, no collaboration. I tried to redirect the conversation gently, to raise my concerns respectfully, but I was shut down at every turn. It was like speaking into a void. Inside, I felt it rising, the heat in my cheeks, the thud in my chest, the wave of frustration and helplessness. I knew this appointment wasn't just ineffective, it was damaging. The decisions being made would undo months, years of careful planning and tailored care, and there was nothing I could do to stop it in that moment. So I nodded, I smiled, I got through it. I packed up the paperwork, gathered my kids, and walked to the car like everything was totally fine. I got them settled in the back seat, and then I told them I needed to get something from the boot. But I didn't. I closed the door, I sank down onto the footpath, and I let myself cry. Not just a few tears, full body tears, whole body shakes, feeling completely overwhelmed and utterly heartbroken. Because it wasn't just that appointment, it was every appointment leading up to it. Every time I had to explain my son's history from scratch. Every time a referral got lost, every time I was dismissed, doubted, or ignored. Every time I had to absorb someone else's lack of preparation so it wouldn't impact my child. It was all of it. And in that moment, I understood something so deeply. Advocacy is not just a skill. It is an emotional labor. And like any labor, it requires rest. It deserves recognition, and it cannot be sustained without support. That day changed how I approached advocacy, not just in strategy, but how I protected myself in the process. What makes advocacy so emotionally taxing? Let's break this down. Number 1, you're emotionally investing. You're not advocating for a policy, you're advocating for someone you truly love. The stakes are high, and that alone is enough to wear you down. Number 2, the power imbalances. It's hard to speak up when you're in a room full of professionals. The fear of being too emotional, too much, or not taken seriously, it's real. Number 3, repetition and retelling. You're often forced to repeat your loved one's story, symptoms, trauma again and again, and that takes a toll. Number 4, being dismissed or ignored. There's nothing more exhausting than speaking up and feeling invisible. It chips away at your confidence and your spirit. Here are some strategies to lighten the emotional load. So how do we protect ourselves while still showing up for our loved ones? Here are a few tools that have helped me and I hope will help you too. Build in recovery time. Block out time after each appointment. Don't schedule something emotionally heavy right after. Give yourself space to breathe, cry, journal, whatever you need. Use scripts and templates when emotions run high. Having prepared scripts can help you stay grounded. They don't have to be long, but try something like, before we begin, I'd like to share a brief summary of what's been happening. Or, I've prepared a few notes and questions. Can we go through them together? Tag team. When possible, bring a trusted friend or family member to take notes or simply be a supportive presence. If that's not possible, ask to record the appointment with permission so you can revisit it later to take your notes and make sure you've got all the information. Have emotional outlets. This could be therapy, peer support, journaling, or a safe space like J&B Oasis. Don't keep the emotional toll bottled up. Here is your affirmation. I honor my energy. I release what isn't mine to carry alone. You don't always have to be on, as in switched on. Let's be real, some days advocacy feels too much. You're emotionally tapped out, you're managing a million moving parts, and then you're expected to walk into a medical appointment, speak clearly, advocate calmly, and ask the right questions, and absorb complex information on the spot. It's a lot, too much sometimes, and I want you to hear this. You don't always have to be on. Being a strong advocate doesn't mean you have to be perfect in every moment. You don't have to always have the answers. You don't have to always stay composed, and you certainly don't have to perform strength when you're feeling anything but. You're allowed to say, I need a pause before we continue. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. Can we slow this down, please? Would it be okay to have this conversation another time or follow up in writing? I'd like a support person with me before we make any of those decisions. These are not signs of weakness. These are signs of awareness, of knowing your emotional capacity, your limits, and your needs in the moment. You are still advocating, even when you're asking for space. In fact, that is advocacy at its core. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is protect your nervous system, so you can come back to the conversation grounded and ready. The healthcare system isn't always designed with our emotional wellness in mind, which is why it's so important we give ourselves that permission. And if you need a script, here's a gentle one you can borrow. This is a lot to take in, and I want to make sure I fully understand everything. Could we take a moment or schedule a follow-up so I can revisit this when I'm better able to absorb it? That one sentence can change the dynamic of an appointment. It gives you control back. It makes space for clarity, and it reinforces that you are an equal partner in this process and not just a passive participant. You are doing enough, even when you're not at your best. You're still showing up, and that's what matters. Let's do an advocacy energy check-in. This week, I invite you to do an advocacy energy check-in. Ask yourself, when do I most feel drained after appointments? What emotions show up after advocating? And what's one thing I can do to protect my energy this week? Maybe it's journaling after an appointment. Maybe it's preparing a statement in advance. Maybe it's booking a walk, a nap, or a friend chat right after. Repeat after me. I am allowed to care deeply and still care for myself. That is a strong affirmation. Being a strong advocate doesn't mean carrying it all without support. You are doing an incredible job, and you deserve tools, rest, and compassion. If this conversation has resonated with you and you're feeling the weight of advocacy or caregiving, you don't have to carry it alone. At J&B Inspired, we've created a space just for you, a community that truly understands the emotional highs and lows, the daily decisions, and the unseen labor that comes with caring for someone you love. Whether you need practical tools, emotional support, or simply a place to exhale, our resources and membership are here to help you feel seen, supported, and empowered. Visit us through the link in the show notes. We'd love to walk this journey with you. Next time, we're exploring caregiving across cultures, how traditions, language, and cultural expectations shape the caregiving journey. I can't wait to share that one with you. Until next time, stay radiant, stay empowered, and keep shining your light bright.